to our Keep Indiana Learning surprise, celebrating 2 years of unexpected learning. I'm Lena Darnay from Keep Indiana Learning, and today is Keep Indiana Learning's second birthday. And the gift that we have is all of this unexpected learning that we are sharing. Allison is up in South Bend Schools in Indiana, Northern Indiana, and thank you for being part of our celebration today.
Thank you for having me. Happy birthday.
Yay! I love it. I love a good birthday and I love a lot of surprises. And one of the things that Alice and I were just talking about before we went live is how surprising it is to see the kids and how much they've learned and how much they've changed in the last 2 years for the positive. There really have been a lot of bright spots.
100%. Yeah.
And so I'm going to have Allison take it away and share some of her unexpected learning with us.
Yes. Hello. Happy birthday, Keep Indiana Learning. I am Allison Schlofelt, and I'm the coordinator of digital integration for South Bend Community Schools. I am a former high school English and English as a new language teacher. And I also have my master's in curriculum and instruction. I am on the board of Indiana Connected Educators. And fun fact, I leave like literally right after this to head up to the McCall conference in Grand Rapids. So if you're going to be there, hit me up on Twitter. Let's meet in person. It's going to be a great couple of days. However, my biggest surprise is from the pandemic is that there is no such thing as average anymore. This actually comes from the Harvard Gazette, but we learned that there's no middle, that there's no teach to the middle anymore. And we're now able to use technology and all these other medias to personalize and individualize all of our learning. So huge thing, there's no such thing as average anymore. We're going to look at this in 3 different ways. So our gifts that we are giving today is that we're going to stop and find the balance. We're going to collaborate from a distance. This is what we've learned. And we've learned to listen to our students. Like Lena said, they are so full of knowledge and so full of experience. One of our biggest things, it just took a pandemic to force us to listen to them. So first and foremost is we're going to stop and find the balance. I'm obsessed with this unicorn. I think he's so funny. So one of the first things I forced myself to do, and I know this is like broken record, right? It's so hard to turn off your notifications, but through the pandemic, I forced myself to find that work-life balance because never leaving my house, like I was checking emails literally from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. Like it was the first thing I did when I woke up. I wasn't even out of bed yet. And it was the last thing I did as I was laying in bed at night. Like it was so tiring. So I knew I had to find that work-life balance. So yes, I still have my school email on my phone. I haven't gotten that far yet. I can't delete it completely, but I have gone in and turned off the notifications so that I have to physically and be mindful of going in there and swiping down to like reload my email. I've done this with a ton of my apps, even social media, so that I have to like physically know that I'm going in and checking it, that so first thing, we have to find our work-life balance. And the first thing we can do is by turning off these notifications. Don't delete that completely. I know that's a big jump. The second thing that we've learned to stop and focus on in terms of balance is that, does the tech bring you joy? I think the pandemic has brought us back to like technology having a purpose and finding that balance, because we went so far to the technology integration side, and a lot of people want to go all the way to the no tech side now, but we have to be able to find that balance in there. Does the technology bring you joy? Surprise, I'm in a school. Does the technology bring you joy, or does the technology bring your students joy? Start with the standard still. Does this little boy is such a great example for me. He's never going to have that smile if he's learning about rainwater on a computer, right? Actually like living in that moment and experiencing whatever he's learning about at this time is so much better in person, in the real. So rather than having, for example, we're learning about snow, let's say, why not have them go outside and do something with the actual snow, feel the snow if that's where you are. We are in northern Indiana, we get lots. Or, anything with weather, shapes, etc. Go outside, take pictures of shapes around where you live. Just finding the balance. And if something doesn't bring you joy, then what's the purpose behind it? Are you just using technology to use technology? The pandemic kind of helped us realize that that's not necessarily the case. We don't necessarily have to do that anymore. We need to find the balance. The second gift we're bringing is collaborating from a distance. We were doing so well at collaborating. We love to collaborate, right? We thrive to be around people, but we had to learn how to do it from a distance. And again, I have this cute little dinosaur who's bringing us cake today. But places we learned to collaborate. We learned to collaborate with Google Meet, and this was a huge gift, right? We have kindergartners who now know how to utilize Google Meets, Zoom, etc. And we can bring in anybody from all over the world to our classrooms. We have broken down all 4 walls of the classroom at this point. I can bring in terms of professional learning, I can bring in John Carippo from California, and he can talk to my teachers or my students. I can bring in a zookeeper or Fiona the hippo from Ohio into the classroom, and our kids can see that now. They don't have to field trip to Ohio, even though that would be pretty cool. But we can just have anyone from across the world come in, talk to our kids, talk to our teachers, and we can collaborate with them. The next thing is quizzes. We'll talk later about listening to our students. And one thing one of the girls says is that she wishes she could get rid of online quizzing. But she definitely was talking about just those fill in the bubbles, multiple choice ones, right? The ones that she wanted back. And I don't know if I use this part of her clip or not, but one thing she liked about it was the competition that when you used quizzes or Quizlet Live, etc., on your Google Meets or on your Zooms. Are they collaborating or is it a competition? And still having that classroom feel while we're at a distance. How can we still collaborate? And of course, shout out to Google Suite, those collaborative spaces. Anywhere. Our kids are now able to collaborate on Google Slides, collaborate on Google Docs, and for good reasons. They can comment and have a conversation, or they can be providing feedback to their peers. It's phenomenal. And, I know as a teacher, I was doing peer reviews all the time. And yes, they would talk to each other, they would have a conversation, but a lot more of that nitty gritty, less polite, real rigorous feedback came when they weren't looking at the other student. We're Midwest nice, we need to be nice face to face. But as soon as we can type and give feedback through collaborative workspaces, it got down to real things of improvement, real ways to improve their writing. So I think Google Suite does that. And it also continued to allow us to have group projects, still kind of build that community, still kind of teach them those critical thinking skills from a distance. And lastly, I obviously have to shout out Keep Indiana Learning. We all learned how to collaborate on Keep Indiana Learning with our personalized PD on your time, in your space. It was one of the best places to go and find how do I survive through the pandemic. The Facebook group was literally positive encouragement, therapy session, help me. And they were right there. It was such a great place to collaborate. Lastly, we learned to listen to our students. This was huge. I think we had to stop and listen to them and realize what they needed and what they wanted versus what we were doing as teachers. I think in the classroom, we get bogged down in terms of state testing and standards and lesson plans and all of those kind of things. And we know what's best, or administration knows what's best for our students. But I think the pandemic, we didn't have any of that extra noise around us. We literally had us and our students and our laptops and whatever other devices we had. But we got to listen to them and hear what they had to say about what's going well and what we need to throw away. So for this presentation, I used Flipgrid and I sent it out to a bunch of different schools. So one thing about South Bend is we have a digital integration specialist in each of our buildings, and they're our feet on the ground running. I am so blessed to have them on my team. So I sent it to a few of them and I was like, hey, I need to hear what the kids liked about the pandemic. What did they like? What would they keep? What do they want to throw away? And what did they not like? So I used Flipgrid for it. I chose 4, and we will just listen to them and then we'll talk a little bit about what they said.
During the pandemic, I learned that I liked monitoring my own pace while learning at home. I truly prefer doing out-school activities in the classroom instead of doing technological ones at home. During the pandemic, I learned that I dislike the lack of communication between my peers and teachers while learning at home. I would like to throw away online quizzes after learning at home.
Hello, Ms. Rapelli. One thing that I think we should get rid of is Google Meets in general. I feel like they weren't very helpful. I just feel like it made everything a lot more awkward when trying to speak / take notes, because if you were like trying to ask for notes, then it'd be kind of awkward to ask them to go back, and it's kind of hard to hear everyone if like multiple people are speaking at once. But one thing that I think would be good would like be asking teachers when they give notes on Meets or just give notes in general, like they actually post them to Google Classroom, because then it's easier to like, if something is skipped, you can like jot it down, something like that. Thank you.
During the pandemic, I learned that I like to work independent while learning at home. What technology or school activities would you like to keep doing after e-learning? I like to continue playing soccer for the school. During the pandemic, I learned that I did not like math while learning at home because it was hard for me. What technology or school activity would you like to throw away after e-learning? Probably not anything, because I think everything has its own purpose.
During the pandemic, we liked having a looser schedule and being able to do assignments when we could fit them in, or like throughout the day. But sometimes it led to not, or feeling like you couldn't put school away. We liked having Google Classroom where all the assignments were in one place, so that you didn't have to worry about forgetting a notebook or like a paper at school that you needed to do for an assignment. Breakout rooms were awkward and I did not enjoy them. Canvas was another thing we didn't enjoy. It's hard to, like, you don't get notifications from it, and it's different from Google Classroom, so you have to check both of them to make sure you're doing everything. I think that is it.
They're fantastic. They are great. I loved all 4 of them. So the first one, just a couple things to point out through it. I really like that she kept looking down at what she wrote. I think it taught our kids to like stop and think before they speak a little more. She got to think about what she wanted to say, and then she had it there. I also really like that she said that she liked her non-techie assignments a little more than she liked her techie ones during the pandemic. So, finding that balance and making sure all students are learning in the way that's best for them. The second student, so he said hi to his DIS at the beginning, which was super cute. And then I like that he said that he didn't like the Google Meets. However, I like that he gave us how to fix it or how to improve it. He was giving real feedback, and he was like, even though I know I didn't like those Google Meets, like, here's why. And here's how we can get better, because I couldn't see the notes on those Google Meets. So if you could have just provided that to me ahead of time, then I probably would have been like participated or enjoyed it more. The third one, again, at the very end, he says, and this like blew my mind. I listened to it like 3 times just to make sure I heard him correctly. But he said like he wouldn't get rid of any technology because everything he did had a purpose. So one, he either has really great teachers, or two, he found his space. He found where to thrive in this pandemic learning. And lastly, the last girl, I really like that she was telling about how she liked the fluid schedule, going back and forth, being able to work at her own pace, giving those brain breaks. A lot of these students, if not all, were high school or middle school. We don't give them as many brain breaks. Yes, passing period you can claim as a brain break, but like then at home they didn't have that. And then they're talking to kids when they're in the hallway. So I like that she liked to choose her own schedule. They just all had such great feedback of what was going well and what was taking a second, or what they didn't like about it and what we could leave behind. So I highly, highly recommend, if you have not already done this, and it could be a Flipgrid. All these kids knew each other, so that's why we chose to do the Flipgrid. Plus, I wanted to be able to show you their sweet faces. But you could also do an anonymous Google form, asking them what they liked and what they didn't like. What do we want to keep? What do we want to throw away? What didn't work for you? But I think the biggest part of this is that we, again, we learned to stop and find the balance, whether it's work-life balance or technology balance, making sure we have a purpose for our technology now. Please do not hear me wrong. Please use technology in your classroom. It's vital for our kids, but is it bringing joy to the classroom? We've learned to collaborate in 101 different ways from a distance. We can collaborate with people all over the country, all over the world, and bring in real life things, Iceland, Alaska, to our classrooms. And lastly, we learn to listen to our students and get their feedback. None of them are average anymore. There is no more average, right? They are each so special and so individualized, and they all know their learning styles. They know what's working for them and what's not working for them. Why not use that and make a learning space for them that they're going to succeed in, whether it is online, hybrid, or completely virtual. So thank you for having me. Feel free to reach out. I have my Twitter and my email here. And just giving my credits to Slides Go for the cutest little birthday slide deck that I've ever seen.
I have to tell you, you're right. That little unicorn might be my new favorite friend.
It's so cute. I love it.
Oh, thanks, Allison. What fun. And I loved hearing from your students. That really does bring home how much they were paying attention and how much work they put into just being students during the last 2 years and how it was different for them.
Yes, so different. And they learn to adapt and overcome. And I think that's a huge thing that we have to take away as teachers too, just to continue adapting and overcoming whatever is thrown at us.
I think that's such a big surprise too. We've all become a little more flexible in our thinking, a little bit more nimble when tech problems come along. It doesn't rattle us as much as it used to. We just roll with it. We feel like we can embrace some new expectations for our own level of participation when it comes to technology. I think it's really all very surprising in a wonderful way.
I agree.
Thanks everyone for being part of our live stream event. We have one more session coming up today. Make sure you share these sessions on your social media channels. Our hashtags for today are KINL turns 2 and too good to miss. Make sure you share out one of your favorite takeaways as a too good to miss. And we're giving away some really awesome prizes from our sponsors who are also celebrating 2 years of Keep Indiana Learning. Thank you for being part of the party, Allison. Hopefully we'll see you very soon.